Joy.
Here we go. Here we go. We're live.
See? You see what I got for you, Adolf? Give me that bass line there. Welcome to the Demand Better Podcast, your ultimate consumer's guide in the health, fitness, and wellness space. We are sponsored by FitCare Physiotherapy, where the emphasis is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. I'm your host, Corona, coming to you from the concrete jungle of New York City. And joining me, as always, from Erie, Colorado, is my esteemed co-host, Dr. Bo Babenko. What's up, kid?
How you doing? How you doing? Everyone enjoying the fall foliage where you are? You guys got the fall foliage?
Roots in Miami, babies. There's no foliage. There's just heat.
There's just the,
And a little hurricane coming our way tomorrow.
So,
You're in Miami.
Yeah.
Adolf, we'll get to that. Today, we have our first trainers roundtable, three of the best three of the best in the fitness industry. We will start with my Cuban sister. She's known as Ruth, the Truth. Joining us from Miami is a seasoned fitness professional with over 3 decades of experience. She's an IFBB pro athlete, NASM certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. She's equipped to help clients achieve their goals from bodybuilding to everyday wellness. Her personalized training programs are designed to be challenging, fun, and effective. She's known for her dedication and commitment to her clients, whether her clients are aiming for the stage or simply want to feel and look good. She's always there to help them reach their goals. What's up, Ruthie?
What's up? I'm so excited to be on here.
Yeah. Well, listen, we are very, very excited to have you. The person who is not here, he is El Capitan. His name is Eric Salvador, the co-founder and head instructor of The Fitting Room. He is a fitness enthusiast with a passion for functional trainer, a former Marine and triathlete. He brings in a unique blend of discipline and athleticism to his coaching style. With certifications in weightlifting, kettlebells, and functional strength, he's dedicated to helping his clients achieve their fitness goals in a fun and effective way. Beyond his personal life, Eric is a family man with 2 children. When you see him, it's going to be hard to believe that he's a granddad. He has a grandchild and an amazing wife named Mary. And I would say, ¿Qué pasa to El Capitan? But he ain't here yet. And last but not least, we have our returning champion, Adolf Bellamy, a.k.a. the Fitness Genie, in his second time on the pod. And he is a seasoned fitness professional with a passion for helping people reach their health goals. After a decade as a group fitness instructor and personal trainer, Adolf transitioned into health coaching to make an even greater impact on his community. What's up, Genie?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here again. Glad everybody's here.
Listen, you're the returning champion. Does that feel good? We already introduced Eric, but he's not here yet. So with that being said, let's get after it.
I'm looking forward to seeing a new champion. Ruth is looking like she's going to take it from me.
So with that, listen, so we're going to get right into this because I'm going to start off with you guys talking about social media and online training. So I'm going to tell you, everybody who's been hearing our podcast understands that if you are a first-time comer, I do not believe in online training whatsoever. Bo is one of the best online trainers that I know. But with social media and these guys online, we'll start off with online training. Ruth, what's your thoughts on it?
I'm a little split with this because I think it's great that so many people have access to fitness now through social media, but I also think that there's a lot of people that are not accurately representing what they should be doing on social media. And I actually just saw this in the gym today. I just saw a lady with her little phone trying to follow the exercises and her form was crap. So, in her mind, and this happens even with trainers in person, we show a client do this and they think they're doing the same thing we just showed them and their form is completely different, right? Because that cue is not there, especially that touching cue, which for me is really important. So although I do think that it's great that fitness has become so mainstream and so many people are trying to get some type of guidance, I do think it still lacks the guidance, really the real guidance that they need. So I don't know. It's great for business, but is it really not for me? Not the way I do business. I want to make sure my clients are safe and I want to make sure that my clients are seeing results. And I don't want to just make money to make money. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just my way of doing business.
No, I think there's an integrity aspect that you're looking
Right.
at.
Exactly.
And I'm not a fan. Adolf, let's go, brother. What you got? What's up? What you got?
I think it's a growing industry, and that's I would say that's the best way to put it. There are a lot of people in different parts of the states who have little to no access to quality personal trainers. You know, Ruth is in Miami. I'm in New York City. We're on, Bose and we're all in basically the top areas for personal training and health coaching and things like that. There's places like, there's a lot of states and there's parts of the place that we can't touch, that we haven't, that people can't reach us at. And so that's, in a sense, where having access to social media and having access to online training grants them a slight opportunity towards getting someone who knows what they're doing, get someone who knows who's well versed in all the health and intelligence fields. Now, will it be a perfect transition? No, obviously not. And then there's also going to be certain people that aren't necessarily qualified trying to teach these people how to do these things. On top of that, who are trying to make extra capital and aren't properly able to portray these exercise movements. So it's not going to be perfect earlier on. And because of that, I think that as time passes and time grows, they're going to have more access and have better ability towards being able to filter out the quality health and intelligence aspects and the no quality. So it's a growing industry. It'll take some more time for us to get seasoned and enjoying everything, right?
Bo, you do it, and you do it with first-time people, and you do it on the rehab end a lot of times. I mean, listen, what I see a lot of times is first-time comers, if you're trying to change movement patterns, I think there's a touch aspect to this that is not being used. How do you make it work for you?
First of all, I try to, if I see someone in person, I'm still hoping to get them online, right? So I'm hoping to say, hey, I don't want to see you because that becomes cost prohibitive. I don't need to see you that often. If you have access to these things, and if we have 5 sessions in person and then you feel confident, if we have 1 session and you already have some background, again, I tend to deal with a lot of CrossFitters, so they hopefully have some semblance. I know we have some differing opinions here on CrossFit and the concept, but at the end of the day, that's where I try to bring that next level concept into it. Then on top of that, I try to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but I try to make it idiot proof. Again, bad terms, politically incorrect terms that probably in 2024 we shouldn't be using, but that's all I got. So at the end of the day, though, that's what I'm trying to do is say, do this exercise, feel your glutes, right? Like if you don't feel your glutes activating, tell me what you do feel. And I use a True Coach app, and they can respond there and say, I felt my quads or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that tells me this is what's going on. And then maybe we do need to remediate that, go on a video call, do whatever to see, okay, send me a video of what you're doing then, and maybe I can see what's going on. And here it is. Here's the contender for the championship.
What?
His audio doesn't work. His audio does not work.
Dave, if I could just add to what Doctor said really quick is online training could be really effective. It depends on who the trainer is. So to his point, someone who's been doing it for a long time, and you and I spoke. I have a client that I've been training virtually since 2020, and we worked together for about 7 years before that. So we had already worked together in person, and we continued for the last 4 years to do in person. I'll be there next week and train her in person. So it depends on the trainer too. When you mentioned that, I was thinking more along. I guess, Doctor, you do True Coach app, which is also just online. It's not virtual training. So do you do both? You do virtual?
I don't like doing virtual because then you're like, back up the camera and then go get a chair and get a yoga block. I don't have a yoga block. What do we do? So I don't like playing those games. I just say if we do need to do a call in person, I have a basic movement screen, and I want to talk about that with you guys. That's going to be our next topic about assessments. But I do a basic assessment, head to toe. I'm able to look at things. I'm able to get a really good sense of what areas we need to focus on. We do a call to make sure we're on the same page. What are your goals? All the same kind of things that hopefully every personal trainer out there is doing. We know every personal trainer out there is not doing. So that's why we're here to kind of call those folks out, demand better of the fitness industry. But I do that, and then that allows me to just say, boom, here's your workouts. Okay, they say, hey, I'm ready to push it a little more. That was too easy. Or, whoa, that was way too much. Whatever that is, and we can modify that, whether it's from a fitness, whether from a pain perspective, rehab, and then we put all those pieces together. And again, I've been doing it quite a long time. It's something I enjoy doing very much. And I think, again, we're getting really good results when we have that right connection of someone who's able to check the phone, get the email, see the videos, and not have to learn 10 different exercises. If I say do a halo with a kettlebell or something, they're like, I don't know what that is. Let me go check the video. Then it becomes limiting, and you see the person in the gym checking their phone on over and over again. That's not what we're looking for. That's not going to necessarily always be a good fit. So anyway, there's definitely a rhyme and reason to that. Eric, is your audio working?
El Capitan, you've already been introduced, El Capitan. So
thank you.
We see that you are on island time, Cuban island time. We said you're one of the Cubans with us, so you must have flown in from Cuba. But Ruthie's living in Miami, so she's with the Cubans. So Eric, your thoughts on social media and online training in terms of what you see and your thoughts.
I mean, you know what? To rewind a little bit, when we first started, there was no online. Everything was in person. I think we had to do a shift during COVID. I think if it wasn't for online, I know I would have struggled during COVID. It helped me and helped our studio stay open. It helped us stay connected to a lot of our clients. I do see people now just relying on just online. I like to be with people, and I need that hands-on. And everyone after COVID wanted to get out and travel, and I think that it's true for trainers. We wanted to be with people, work out with people. So what I see out there now, I do see a lot of, it goes with every profession, right? You see good and you see bad. Even when I started, in person, I saw good and I saw bad. I think now we have consumers that are very educated. They know what they're doing. They actually read, with more information comes more stimulus, and it could be a good and a bad thing. But I think it's hard, right? I think I have two sides to it. I thought it was great for me to keep me making ends meet, and also it could be bad in both ways. But I'm more of in person. I like to do in person. I do. If my clients go away, for example, in the summer they go away and they say, hey, Eric, I want to pop in. Absolutely. I know what they can do. I already assessed them. I know what they're capable of. I don't have to break down and movement for them. Like Thibault's, if I say grab a kettlebell and doing halos, they know what they're doing. So there does come parts when the online thing is good, but I wouldn't say it's the end all, or what I mean?
Yeah, no, but I think, because I'm a hands-on person. As you know, my issue with online training is that there are people you and Bo talk about. Bo can do it, but you're talking about you already know the person. Ruth does it; she already knows the person a lot of times. And what ends up happening, you got these people that have messed up movement patterns, and they're going online, and it's very, very difficult to correct. There's always good and bad, but I think that our industry's been so dumbed down that anybody can just all of a sudden go on an app and I'm just going to lose whatever. And I think that's really my biggest issue, is that people have just literally dumbed down our industry.
And we have a listener comment I'm going to read for those not on the live stream. The duality of being able to be in person and also online has been beneficial, not only post-COVID, but also as someone who struggles with mobility at times. Online has been a great asset as well. And again, that's something I try to do and get folks, even when I graduate them from whatever rehab side, doctor of physical therapy side, I say, hey, here's some mobility stuff. I call them Bo flows, 10 minutes a day. Keep doing these things. And if you do that, it's like brushing your teeth. It's like flossing. You need to do that. So that's where I think it's useful. If somebody's trying to chase an Olympic weightlifting program, if they're trying to chase a kettlebell sport program, Eric might be able to speak to that. Once you have that technique dialed in, that's the hard part. That's where you need that touch point, I think, more than anything else. I have people come see me online, come see me in person. And a lot of times I'm like, I could easily send you workouts, but they're just not going to do the work if we don't see them in person. So that's a little bit Kiki's comment there. of the fact that, yeah, we need to have that balance. It's a great tool when you know how to use it. Eric, you mentioned you started doing it in COVID as kind of a pivot, a necessity at that point. I was fortunate enough to be doing it before that because I was moving between New York City and then I moved over to Dubai. And so I had people from New York City who wanted to still work with me. And then when I left Dubai, people from Dubai still wanted to work with me. So I'm all over the place in that sense. And again, I'll do these virtual kind of calls. And I do find that, again, it's a great time. It's a great technology. I think Corona's just being a bitter old man who doesn't understand technology at the end of the day. That's why.
To Kiki's point, my client who I trained virtually, I'll give you two really quick stories. My client who I trained virtually has been the most consistent with training since we've been doing it virtually versus when we were both in New York. She would get caught up in meetings. She would get, whatever would happen, something, and she was always canceling. Since we've been doing virtual, she's been like, I think we maybe have canceled in 4 years, maybe, or 3.5 years, we've canceled maybe 1 or 2 sessions and we've rescheduled them. The other thing is I feel I have a client who's an online client, so different from virtual, in Canada, who's been training with me since 2020 as well. And she told me the same thing. She's been the most consistent since we've been doing this. And also, I think that sometimes the people that you have with online training bring a higher level of discipline than the ones that see you 3 times a week in person. Because they almost like take that for granted, whereas the online people have a plan that they're following and they're doing everything by the plan. And so I feel like they're also more consistent and not canceling sessions or whatever the case may be, ending up in a better result. So there is definitely pluses to it. I just think that the bad trainers are making, and the people, and not only the bad trainers, there may be great trainers, but people buying these online plans that have no business buying an online plan without doing in-person sessions. Yeah. So, it's hard. It's hard to make that decision of good or bad, because obviously it could be both.
Kiki, well, and
that takes us. Kiki shouted you out. That takes us to our next topic, which is David and I. If you guys have gone back and listened to the Demand Better Chronicles, the archives, the first ever episode, we said Demand Better from personal trainers. We have 4 personal trainers, and I'll consider myself somewhere as a hybrid as well. But one of the number one thing we said is if the trainer is not doing an assessment, get out. Walk out, get your money back if you can, but you're not in the right hands. And to your point about, I see knees. Let's pick on knees over toes guy. Anyone who's familiar with that, they don't have an assessment built in. You go to them, you say, I have knee pain. Cool. Here's your knees over toes program. Go do the program, and you can choose what level you're at, and you can certainly have different levels. But at the end of the day, there's no follow-up, there's no coaching, there's no personal touch. So I think they've tried to, maybe, I don't want to talk completely against that organization, but at the end of the day, I've had people come to me saying, I tried this for 6 months and my knee's worse or my knee's the same. Can you help me? And so I'm happy to help them at that point. But at the point being, there's a lot of trainers out there and a lot of programs out there where there's no assessment. So I want to talk about assessments, and let's jump back to Adolf. He hasn't talked in a little while. Adolf, tell us a little bit about your assessment that you're incorporating and maybe what you want to see more of the industry. We can talk big picture as well. So go for it, baby.
Awesome. All right. So my assessments actually go twofold. There's the physical assessment that all us trainers are very familiar with. And I'll basically give my clients very basic exercise movement just to see how their body works based on what they expect to happen. It could be a body weight overhead squat, or it could be a push-up. It could be a simple like dumbbell bench, if anything. And the whole idea is just to be able to look at them and view it and see how their body's working, and ask them how does this feel, how does that feel, if they have any pains or if they have any ailments. That's always going to be known or spoken of before the initial assessment, so that I can draw extra expectations. And then as I'm seeing the move, I'm just asking myself, why did the body think this was a good idea? Why did the body choose for this to happen? And then us, as experienced trainers, you'll be able to break down, okay, if it could either it's because of this or because of this, or have you seen this work? And then you'll be able to tally those out, and then that will be able to help you break down what your personal training program may look like. Now, aside from that, I'm also doing a deep health assessment where I'm also looking at what their lifestyle is outside of the gym, because they're only going to be spending 3 hours inside of the gym working out in a week, if not maybe a couple more for the truly elite. That's really the more important thing to me when it comes to understanding what their lifestyle, what they want is, because they'll come in with the goal and say, I want to do this, but then I'm going to ask them why. Why do you want to do this? Why is this important to you? Why is that important to you? Okay, why is that important to you? And break that further down so I understand exactly what they really want, what they truly want, and be able to deduce and figure out what's going on within their lifestyle and how and be able to let them lead. Of course, it's still going to be centered around them and what they want to do, and have them figure out the proper steps that they can take either inside or outside the gym, small baby steps that'll get them closer and closer to where they want to get to over a longer period of time.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say, because Eric wasn't here at the beginning, Adolf is also a health coach. He got a degree in health coaching, so he's looking at everything, and most trainers just look at the body. So I just want to make sure that's right, because you're one of the few people that I've met that does that goes outside. I go outside to see what the lifestyle is. It's vitally important.
Yeah, I'll jump in and I'll highly recommend Coach Dan John for anyone familiar in the industry. And he has a great book that I recently just finished called Can You Go? And he talks about this. He asks specific questions. He goes into depth of his rationale behind it. I won't go in depth on and give away all the trader secrets there. But Ruth or Eric, do you want to challenge Adolf and tell him why he's wrong? Do you want to tell him why he's wrong?
I mean, I'm not gonna tell him he's hit.
I'm also one second. I'm also gonna I'm gonna start putting whoever's talking into solo mode. So Eric, you got the floor, baby.
Yeah, I agree with everything Adolf does. I think there's a lot of trainers that don't look at the outside stuff. They look first at the body and they start doing like the FMS or like I do. I start from the feet.
Functional movement screen for anyone not familiar. I want to get everyone on the same page.
Way back then, but you know what I think to his point is, and to Corona's point, I think we need to know their why and what are their goals. So I sit down and I have a conversation. I have one coming up, and I was like, let's sit down, let's have coffee, let's talk about why do you want to lose weight, or why do you want to get stronger? Maybe their goal is just to walk down their granddaughter, or maybe they have a race coming up or something like that. So I need to find out what their why is. And then another thing, injuries. Like I need to know every surgery, stuff like that, because I think if I just be like, all right, let's have an assessment, let's meet at 9 a.m. tomorrow at the gym, and you don't know any of this, look, you're just going in blind. So I think it starts with the conversation and just getting to know and establish that rapport, because it's all about, it's personal training, right? It's like, I need to get to know you, Bo. Like, what do you do? What do you do at work? What's your sleep like? What's your eating habits like? What's your stuff like that?
Yeah,
but you want to know about me? You want to know about me?
but
I'm glad we put you on the full screen, because I can see that Moe in the background and the Swaba and the little
I didn't notice that.
Eric, there's not a lot of people out there who go into that. They don't go into the injury. When I do the pre-screening, I always ask you, I need to know every single little injury that you do. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a turned ankle that you had when you were 6. There's a compensation pattern that's coming from that needs to be corrected. And unless I know what your problems are, there's no way for me to actually design something for you to prevent that. And I don't think people do that. They you look good. This are push-ups. I'm like, no. Let's find out what's wrong with you. Let's find out what you've had, and let's go over those injuries. And the FMS is a great piece.
Yeah.
Ruthie.
Ruth,
I do similar. I definitely do a personal sort of assessment of where they're at, what are their goals, how long has this been a goal, what stopped them from getting there before, all those good stuff. I just took my certification in behavioral health with NASM, so I really have been applying. I had always been applying it, but more so now that it kind of like was in a book for me, and I was like, okay, I've been doing this anyways. But also I like to do my movement assessments or screenings with some basic movements, overhead squat, maybe a plank if they can do that, any type of row. I usually use a TRX. But what I like doing is I do something called an add-on assessment. So I'll do one exercise that I assess them in, then I do a second exercise, then go back to the first exercise, do the second exercise, do a third exercise. and kind of just go to see like how their body starts to compensate as they start to get tired. Because a lot of times, especially if you have someone who's athletic somewhat or has been working out, I know I can kind of disguise my compensation. So I want to see them working within the assessment, but also being fatigued so that I can see what their body tends to do at that point. And then find out like what Eric said, find out what they do daily. I have a guy who's a drummer. He's been a musician his whole life, so he has like this really tight chest area, especially here. Comes in all messed up all the time, so we're always working on opening that up. You know, doing some lat work, which he never used to do. It was typical, always doing chest work, so he was making it worse. So yeah, that's what I do. Pretty basic stuff.
Basic stuff. but not every personal trainer out there is doing it. If somebody out there is a consumer, again, our tagline at the Demand Better podcast is we want to be the consumer's guide. So folks not aware of what the personal training space should look like, what the health space, doctors, medical doctors, physical therapists, any of that should look like. Here's why we're sharing these conversations.
No, but the add on to that, just a real quick, what's interesting about that is that they go to a doctor wants to cut them, and there's something wrong functionally. And if he's just developed the weakness, they don't need the surgery in a lot of situations. We heal ourselves if we choose to make the effort and the work. The doctor's a surgeon. That's what his job is. His job is to cut. His job isn't to, give you a
well, hold on. I'll be the devil's advocate and say your job is to train. So all you're doing is that's your job.
My job, just like your tagline for your business is to keep you off the medical table. Is it not, Dr. Bo? Thank you. Go ahead. Next question, Mark.
So what I heard a lot of here is a lot of talk about asking about injuries, which I love. And I think every personal trainer absolutely should be doing this. My question becomes, who owns pain? Now, I know in personal training, we're talking about corrective exercise. You're talking about, understanding that if he's doing pressing motions, that might be making his shoulder pain worse as a particular example. So at what point do you guys say, hey, maybe I need to refer you to online Dr. Bo or a physical therapist down the road or any other medical professional? I'd love to hear, again, each of your takes on where we're at. Again, we'll go back around the table to Adolf. Go first.
Okay, well, as Dr. Bo knows, I'm a hybrid in multiple ways, and not just being a health coach, but I also had a degree in athletic training. So a lot of my background started off with injury rehab. So in many ways, when it comes to many injuries, I would just examine it and look at the anatomy behind it and continue to ask myself again the question: why does the body choosing to do this? And then be able to give myself at least a few exercises or a few steps backwards on the muscle and on the body joints around the muscle to see what's going on here, and if none of those things work or the body continues to get worse, then it's like, okay, this is beyond my scope of practice. I got to send this out to a physical therapist, and it's important for every trainer to have a list of physical therapists, a list of different health professionals, on nutritionists, everybody on that, for them to outsource out, because we don't know everything, and they're specialists for a reason. So it's important to have that around.
Love it. And we got Kiki continuing to contribute. Appreciate you sharing, Kiki. Let's hop over to Eric. What do you think about this pain? Who owns pain? What do you do when you got someone in pain? And
Eric
maybe
is pain.
I bring the pain. Oh,
that's right.
Go ahead, Bo. What was that?
I was gonna say we got to break out a shot of like Suava in the back there. Take it. Since you got the bar, so go ahead. I'm just teasing.
Yeah. So I agree. Like, I have my Rolodex of PTs I've worked with. Big shout out to Ryan Chow at Reload. I work really close with them, and I first got to find out if it's a capacity issue, if it's a strength thing, if it's like a chronic pain. And then I don't claim to be like a doctor of physical therapy. I'm good to refer out, but I do work closely with a lot of PTs, and basically a lot of PTs now, rehab is training with pain, right? So I think the days of like STEM and ICE, the PTs are actually like us. They're giving them away, and they're like, all right, let's see what you can do. And so, I hate to pick on runners. They're just so easy to pick on because they're always hurt. Runners, for example, like I get them and I have like a screening. I was like, all right, let's see your calf raises. Let's see what they look like. Let's get your shoes off and let's see you do like some single leg stuff. And I try to identify if it's like, can they do it? What's the threshold? And then kind of stay under that red line. Now, if it's constantly red all the time, every time we're meeting and it's affecting their livelihood, then I'm like, all right, we got to go see a PT. And then I work close with that PT. So if I'm like, hey, Bo, can you check out my client, Laura, who's complaining about like knee pain every time she does a lunge, but it doesn't hurt when she goes out and runs. So I need to like have close relationship with a PT. So then I'm also learning because I want to apply this. So it works both ways.
Yeah, man, appreciate that. We got a quick question. We'll put it in the pin. Any recovery tips outside of rest, sleep, nutrition, and training program? And that's from Mom. Thanks, Mom. I don't know who's Mom, but we'll come back to that. We're gonna put a pin in that, and we'll go to Ruth about.
Ruthie, give it to us.
So listen, I am huge on recovery. I do recovery with a chiro/physical therapist once a week when I'm not in my prep season, and when I am in prep, I'm doing once to twice a week with him. I also do deep tissue massages, so I'm huge on recovery. I do my own self-myofascial release at least 3 to 4 times a week, 45 minutes to an hour, because I do train legs three times a week. So recovery for me is a huge part of not only my training, but also my clients' training. So when we're dealing with pain, and if I've already done an assessment where I kind of can figure out where their imbalances are, where their compensations are coming from, then step number 2 for me would be like, what's your stretching routine like? What's your recovery work? Do you get massages? Are you foam rolling? Most of the times they are not foam rolling. So foam rolling is number 1 on my list to get them going. And then I always refer them to the guy that works on me, which his name, since Eric gave a shout out, I got to give a shout out too. Paul from Elite Performance. He's been amazing to working on me this whole last year. So I do refer them to him, but I think a lot of clients, just when they start to stretch properly and use some foam rolling or self-myofascia, whether it's a massage gun or anything else, that alone can alleviate the pain if it's coming from some type of compensation. I think if it's more than that, then it could be a more serious issue, and then I would definitely refer them out for sure to go see Paul.
Sweet. Can I add a curveball to all of that?
Sure.
Not the roof, obviously, but just another tip that outside of the block, I would say support an environment. A lot of times we kind of underlook the importance of talking to the people in your environment, talking to the people that you see consistently, and letting them know, I need extra sleep or I need extra rest. Whether if you're living in a family, in a house full of 3 or 4 people, and everybody's always noisy, you're not going to get much sleep. But if you include them in and let them know what you're trying to work on, the goals that you're trying to achieve and things you're trying to have, they can be supportive and they can be very assistive towards getting you more rest or reducing your stress and things like that can help improve your recovery.
No, listen, man. This rolls right into the next topic I want to hit on, which is basically client expectations. I mean, people come in, they come in expecting X, Y, and Z. Dr. Bo and I have talked about this. I come in, I want to lose 20 pounds, and Bo and I say the same thing. 20 pounds? What? Why not 10? Why not 28 pounds? What? You don't even know what it is. So right now, I believe like there's people my age going on Instagram, seeing somebody who's shredded, and saying, I want to look like him. Well, you're never going to look like him ever. Okay. You're 50. He's 25. He drinks and eats McDonald's, and you go drinking, and that's about it. You know what I mean? So what do you guys run into when you're dealing with clients and their expectations? How do you manage that? And how do you deal when they're a little bit out of control? We'll go back to where we started with Adolph Bellamy.
All right. I guess it's just still very simple for me when it comes to things like that. I'll always remain completely client and person centered. So I will start with what they want to accomplish, continue to ask them why they want to accomplish what they expect to accomplish with it. And basically we work from there. We can set the path, we can set the goal, and we can break down what they're willing to do what they're looking to do, what they're expecting to do in order towards making that happen, and just move backwards on it. Now, through that process, they may be able to look and say, okay, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to try to do that, or I'm not willing to do that right now. And we'll be able to break that down and knock those things out fairly easily, fairly simply, just because we're looking at what they're willing to do right now, what they're willing to act and work upon right now on their own pace, and that'll help them further limit and dumb down a lot of or simplify a lot of the goals they're looking to achieve, and then make them more attainable for themselves. Because ultimate goal is making sure that they're doing things that are attainable to them and easy for their initial actions. And so they'll be able to figure that out.
Hey, Eric, what's your thoughts?
I mean, like I tell my clients, I'm with you for 2 hours a week. What do you do those other however many hours are in a week?
166. 166.
Thank you.
166, big boy.
See, you guys had this conversation, so you know where I'm going with this. Like, I'm not Houdini. You know, you got to put in the work. So right off the back, I feel like this is like, I'm going to help you, but you got to help me. So that goal of, like you said, 20 pounds, I'm like, why not just start with 10 and work our way? Like, it's like saying I want to add 100 pounds to my bench. All right, let's start with like small numbers and work the way there. But I think about just quality of life, right? Wouldn't you want to be able to run? Wouldn't you want to be a little stronger? Yes, if you do that, weight loss will happen. So I don't make it just about the weight loss. I'm like, wouldn't you like to be injury free? Wouldn't you like to be a little more resilient? Wouldn't you like to have more energy? So I think when you talk about it big picture like that, and you go like, that, because if you do all this, then that will happen. Then you will lose weight. You will kind of gain. So I think there's this big, like, clients come in, they're like, I want to lose, but why? What's the reason? And this goes back to what I'm saying. It's like, find their why. There's got to be something in their life. It's got to be deeper than that just lose 20 pounds. Unless you're doing like a bikini like contest where you kind of like need to shred, then I'll pass over to Ruthie. But but for me, I was like, I'm all about just like, at my age, like I want to look like I used to look back when we first met. So I think it's more about quality of life, sustainability, injury free, and yes, I wouldn't mind losing some body fat in the process, but that comes with all that hard work. But they got to put in that work.
Ruth, what you got?
So, I mean, I definitely always ask, obviously, like what their goal is. And when they give me a specific goal, like lose 20 pounds or weigh this much, I ask them, how long ago was the last time that you weighed that? And, figure out, how long it's been, what was their life like at that time. Because of what I do, I can get really specific with people and say like, okay, well, this is going to require this type of eating, this type of cardio, this type of training, this consistency, no wine, during the week, maybe not being able to go out with your friends or your husband and kids the whole weekend, every day for different meals. And once I explain to them exactly the type of discipline and dedication that specific goal is going to require, we usually can find a balance somewhere that's more realistic. And the second part to that is that I ask them, what are their non-physical goals? Like, what's a goal that you have that has nothing to do with the scale or with the way your clothes fits? Just like to Eric's point, being able to run a mile or being able to, I don't know, go rock climbing with their kids, whatever that non-physical, and physical meaning exterior, right? Whatever that goal is for them, I try to focus on that. And then just be honest with them with what their goals are going to require.
Now, let me ask you a question, Ruthie, because you're an IFBB pro.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just break that down, what that means for anyone who's not familiar?
International Federation of Bodybuilding.
Yeah, and Ruthie is, and if you've seen pictures of Ruthie looks unfreaking real and as disciplined as anybody I've ever met. With that being said, I would assume I'm not. Listen, they're not coming to me to get ready for that bikini contest. They're not coming for me for that.
Mhm.
But I would assume, and I might be wrong. You correct me. Do you have, when clientele come up to you or people come up to you, do you get a lot of people with unrealistic expectations coming to you in terms of, I want to look like you? Yeah. Oh, she looks fabulous.
That's the one that's the picture he chose.
I pulled up the
I
first
have more
one.
professional looking ones, just saying.
Just be nice.
I mean, you are what you put online. Yep.
Not that line.
To answer your question, Dave, yeah, I do get some people that come with unrealistic expectations. I tend to kind of give them a reality check right away on how long it's going to take. But sometimes I'll get someone that looks like, okay, yeah, she probably just needs to lose 10, 15 pounds. And as they start to lose the weight, I start to uncover like, oh, she doesn't have as round glutes as I thought. That was all fat. Or her legs aren't as muscular. That was mostly, fat too. So as they start to diet down for this show, you start to really see what the skin elasticity is like, how much muscle was really underneath that skin that looked maybe like more muscle and was really more fat. Especially for the younger girls, because they still have a lot of that baby fat, which that's hard to get rid of for a competition.
Who's
So
in New York City? Which of you's got these sirens in the back?
That is our song.
guilty.
Our song.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's our song, Eric.
So yeah, but even with them, I tend to give them a window of how long something's gonna take, and I always say, I will not put you on stage unless you look right. Unless I know that this is your best package, I'm not gonna put you on stage just to say that you checked something off the bucket list, because I just don't believe in that. I don't believe in participation trophies. I don't believe in. It's just the goal. I just wanted to do it. Like there's too many people working really hard to get on that stage, and I think it's disrespectful for people to just get on because they had an amazing weight loss journey or transformation. That's beautiful, and I'm all for it. But the stage is not the place for it. And I think a lot of promoters in the fitness industry, just to take the money, will put anybody on stage. But there's athletes back there that just spend 12 to 16 weeks depriving themselves, and for somebody to come on that stage and be just showing their journey, I mean, that's a whole other podcast. But yeah, I give them a reality.
I got one more for you.
Sure.
Do you feel for what you do that you get a certain clientele, or there are certain people that won't come and see you? Because I think you look amazing, and I know Eric and we've known you for years. I think you look amazing. But with that being said, do you feel like you lose out on certain things because of the way you look?
I don't think I do anymore. I think maybe a few years ago that may have been the case, because I don't think that fitness was as mainstream even 4 years ago before COVID as it is today. But I think that today a lot of people, muscle first of all has become like the coolest thing now. Everybody wants to put on muscle, which is great. So and even those that don't necessarily want to look like me, I think that they have a little bit of awareness of exactly how hard it is to do it. And for that reason, they want to work with me, because they know that I can get them even 60% there if I could get myself to where I've gotten myself.
I'd work with you.
And even piggybacking what Ruth said,
I work with her too. She's great.
There's also a whole lot. I think because of that growth as well, there's also a significant decrease of clientele and people trying to make unrealistic goals. There's a lot more realistic goals nowadays than unrealistic goals compared to 5-10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
Bo, do you want to bring up the GLP-1s?
Ooh.
Only if Adolf turns his mic off. Is that your cat, Adolf? What is that? Is that your cat on your microphone? What is that?
Oh no, that was, I don't know what that was.
I'm gonna keep muting you, man. talking about her unprofessional photos. You got unprofessional microphone play. This is unacceptable.
Eric, your thoughts? GLP-1s.
I mean, listen, if you're
Let's
in LA,
hold on. Sorry. Let's define again for folks before you go, because Corona, you just bring stuff up and expect everyone to know what we're talking about. GLP-1 inhibitors. Again, that's talking about Ozempics and the kind of drugs that have become much more popular. The really simple concept there is it's a weight loss drug that seems to have taken the country by storm. And on that note, we'll hear what Eric has to say about it.
yeah, it's unfortunate, and I could come here and say it. The amount of people that I know that are on it for the wrong reasons, and it's scary because we don't know the long-term effects of this. And this is, I mean, wow, we can do a whole podcast about like the pharmaceutical company and like our food industry.
I will fact check you, just like in this political climate where we fact check our politicians. That's a common kind of thing that gets thrown out there. We did have an expert on, Eric Durak, recently, and even though we don't know the full effects long term, these are drugs that have been around for quite a long time. We're talking into the, I think, 20 years now, where the first ones were introduced to the public, and we're starting to get prescribed more for diabetes usage. But we do have some really good ideas of what the side effects are long term. Again, that is a good point, but I did want to fact check that just for I don't want that to get perpetuated.
Yes, no, 100%. And like, listen, if diabetics, 100%. I'm talking about like people like you and I who are like looking for that quick fix or looking for like the 10 pounds that I've been trying to lose for the last 5 years. I'm strongly against that. I think that if for me, if I take creatine or protein shakes, that's none of it, but I wouldn't condone it. And I try to stay away from that. And I was like, let's do this the right way. So that's my take on it. I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
I'll jump in if I can, Ruth.
Okay.
And just, I'm gonna give the common kind of rebuttal, because we've been diving into this topic a lot, and I've been listening to this topic a lot and trying to get all the expert takes. So I'll dive into the fact that the big rebuttal, and I've had to be, I feel like, the voice of the other side. I'm not necessarily on either side. I think there's like similar to the online training thing, even though I have a vested interest there. I think that, there's definitely multiple ways to look at this, and there's no one size fits all. But to your point, Eric, I think when we say people should do this the right way, a lot of times folks have tried 300 different ways. And I think I think you're talking about those people who are like, again, I want to lose that extra 10 pounds. And that's the case. So I think we have to really highlight the fact that these drugs becoming more prevalent, we're seeing this huge chronic epidemic of obesity in this country. Do these drugs fit in there? Will the cost start to become much less? Will they become much more manageable? Is this something that will ultimately help folks? This is where, again, if anyone wants to go back, listen to our episode with Eric Durak. He talks about a certification for personal trainers that I think everyone on here should be getting on, and he gave us access to that. Me and Corona, I think it's excellent information. Ultimately, to say, if we know somebody who's on that GLP-1 inhibitor, whether it's Ozempic or another name brand, they need to be making sure that big side effect that we do know about is loss of muscle mass. And similar to long COVID, which we're just learning about, is another kind of big thing in the industry that we should all be talking about, spreading education about. I think that anyone who's on one of these GLP-1 inhibitors, we need to know how much to push them, how to see those signs of, hey, we pushed that person too far. And if they're not communicating, hey, I haven't had a poop in 5 days. That's a problem. It's a common thing, but it's a problem. So we need to continue that conversation, I think. And at the end of the day, I think I've had guests on here, and Corona's original take was, like people shouldn't be taking shortcuts. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna give that other devil's advocate view of the fact that they're here to stay. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think people are going to keep turning to them. I think we can certainly push for people to use them in the right situations. Where those right situations, we can certainly argue back and forth on. But I just wanted to give that extra perspective. Go ahead.
To add to that, really, the hydration levels also are so vitally important when they're on these drugs, and people aren't really aware of that. Just so you guys know, if you guys check it out, and anybody listening, if you want to know more about it, we were on with Eric Durak, and he they're talking about having centers in each gym and having trainers starting to do this stuff because that's what's happening. People don't want to, and in my opinion, there's some people who actually need it, where they're going through that. But I had a client, and I said this to Bo, Dr. Bo, that she was going to Cancun. She's a thin woman, and decided the doctor put her on Ozempic, so she would look good for Cancun. That's $1,500 a month, man. I mean, that's crazy. But we really, really need, if you're on that drug, the trainer really has to understand what that drug does and the needs of that drug. You just can't go in blind and be like, hey, just start lifting. You just can't. Go ahead, Ruth.
I mean, I think that we need to remember that there's been other medications that people have been using for weight loss and abusing for a long time. I've had clients like this, and my take on it is very similar to Bo's, is that there could be a place for it for someone who has tried to lose weight, hasn't had success, needs a push start. The message I try sending the most, because it's huge here in Florida, is learn some new habits while you're on the medication. Do not use it to suppress your appetite and then not eat at all, because you're not changing the behavior that caused the weight gain to begin with. So unless you're planning on staying on this forever, then the purpose of the medication, that's why so many people are taking it, losing weight, gaining the weight back. I think if they learn how to eat properly and then obviously get off the medication, it could be great. I don't agree with people taking it just because they don't want to do the work, especially, coming from myself, again, someone who has deprived myself for weeks and months to look a certain way. I think it's lazy. It's lazy. That's the word for me. It's lazy. And I don't know.
Well, again, Ruth, I'm gonna steal from Lane Norton, another one of my favorite people in this industry.
Get him, Bo. Get her, Bo.
Bio Lane, and he talks about again, everyone's different. There are some lazy folks out there for sure, but I think you see folks who are, we have a whole CEO series. We certainly talk about some of these folks who are running these companies of 500 people, et cetera, even bigger, and able to find that time to put fitness first, and how that ultimately improves their lives. But at the same time, we have some of the people who are sacrificing and also allowing themselves to get obese, unhealthy, because of how much they're working in their lives. They're far from lazy. So I'm not saying, again, I just don't like hearing that. And Bio Lane got my dude there, Lane Norton. He's one to use that example of, he has these people, and we say, like, again, do these folks not have like motivation or whatever? But they're doing all that in their work life and maybe even in their family life. But then to not be able to do it in the fitness space, what's missing there? It's not that they're lazy a lot of the times. I think a lot of people are willing to try. I just think they haven't been guided the right way. So I'm going to keep defending the whatever, those folks.
I think the biggest objection, then we'll go to Adolf. I think the biggest objection, and I think Ruth said it the best, there's no behavior modification.
Yeah.
I'm just taking the drug. There's no behavior modification. And then when I go off the drug, I'm going to put all the weight back on. So unless there's a behavior modification in conjunction with using the drug, then if you don't change anything, you're going to be on the drug for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Just that way. Go ahead, Adolf.
See, now, first and foremost, I'm very proud of Dave Corona. He's turned a leaf. The last time we were in this fight, he was completely against GLP-1s. Now he's like, maybe there is a place. And I'm with Dr. Bo on this one. This is GLP-1 has a place, and it has a permanent place within the industry. He already mentioned it with Eric about how there's been studies and shown that there's been drugs out like this for about over 30 years now, and we're aware what the side effects are and what have you. But what we also know is that from those studies, there was a step-by-step of stages on how this was given to their clients. There was a behavioral intervention first. They were taught how to improve their lifestyle habits and how to improve their eating habits, how to improve their exercise habits, and then once their weights got down to a certain point and they needed an extra level of help, that's when the GLP-1 were or similar drugs were introduced. So there's a definite place for that, and there's people out there who have certain genetic makeups that prevent them from being able to lose an X amount of weight and get towards that healthier weight at the same rate or at all compared to others. So for those type of people, these type of drugs are very beneficial and assistive for them, and that's why there's a place for this. There's other people that may, again, abuse the drug, but think about it. We're in the U.S. How many drugs are being abused all the damn time? It's not uncommon for drugs to be abused, and this is just an idea that makes people look towards getting to a certain destination at a very fast pace, which is what most people tend to always get intrigued by. Now, what's important to everybody's point here is that there needs to be an important understanding on how to properly understand all the side effects of drugs and have those behavioral interventions and have those adjustments before, preferably, they're introduced to these drugs. Now, the issue at hand is that these doctors, similar to the surgeons when it comes to surgery on a hip injury, something like that, they don't have that, okay, I'm going to send you here and make sure that you're seeing this trainer or seeing this health coach or seeing this person step by step, because a lot of institutions, a lot of areas don't have that health coach or have that personal trainer under their insurance or healthcare. So then they're able to kind of almost fast track people into the GLP-1s. If the client said, "Oh, I did everything." "Oh, you did everything? Okay, then I guess this is the next step." But having those step-by-step interventions going hand in hand and teaching people how to change their lifestyles and improve their lifestyles can easily prevent them from having to take these drugs, because of the fact that they are, by doing those interventions and doing those habit changes, they probably end up losing weight anyways. So it's just right away.
I'm going to say this to you because I think Eric remembers very, very well, and I think Ruthie would remember. Back in the day when we were younger, it was fen-phen, and people were dying from fen-phen. Yeah. People were having heart attacks from fen-phen, and I think in our minds, because we're older, we've seen these drugs follow through, and what's ended up happening. I'm the first person to say, Nadoff, you're right. After I talked to Eric Durek, my mind changed a little bit, because he's been in this for a very long time. This drug's been around for 20 years. Now fen-phen was, people were having heart attacks left and right, and people were dying. And I think that's where, if you're older, that's what your mind goes to immediately. We don't want to take people. Bo, go ahead. You got something to say? I can tell.
No, I think I was about to say what you were about to say. We want to be respectful of people's times, unlike Eric, who is on island time and shows up late to things that he said he was going to be on. But we want to be respectful of folks' times. Everyone on here, we're coming up on the hour. Go ahead.
So we're going to do this quick. I want each one of you to give us 3 things the listeners should take away from our conversation and advice you would give to somebody who wants to get into training or who is in training, and something that you guys think that would affect them, a listener, as far as going into training.
Mr. Eric, I'll let you go first because we just picked on you.
Oh, yeah, thanks. So I'm just going to think of what I did as a young trainer growing up, and having role models, like looking up to people that know what they're doing, that are smarter than you, number one. Number two, get out there and get educated, whether that means going to a seminar or doing a certification. Put your money back to yourself, like invest in yourself. And then number 3, be with people like this that share the same passion and goals as you, because I think if we support each other and you find yourself with like-minded coaches like everyone in this room, I think you'll go places.
Well said. Well said. Let's go over to Ruth.
So I'm going to say, I assume we're talking to people who are also non-trainers. I'm going to say, first of all, interview your trainer. Find out from them how long they've been doing it. What are their successes? Look at reviews. Don't fall for before and after pictures. A lot of those are fake. So ask for reviews. And I would say do some research also, as Eric was saying, kind of like get educated on what to expect from the trainers and observe them. Observe the trainer before you hire them. Watch them with other clients.
Ooh, sweet.
Mr. Adolf,
okay.
What do you got?
Genie!
I'm
a genie in a bottle, baby.
I would say two very important things. And Eric.
We asked for 3. I need more than 2 important things.
Okay, I'll give a bonus towards the end. Why not? First thing, basically just piggybacking off of Eric and Ruth, is remain curious. You want to continue to be curious, and you want people around you to remain curious, because the science is continuously to change. The scientific ideas and tips we've given now are very different from how they were 20 years ago. And with the data that's coming out, this is going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to see a few new things that may assist and intrigue us towards bigger ideas. Second thing, think bigger. A lot of people continue to focus on fitness and health around what they're eating and how they're lifting, when there's a much bigger impact to it. Think about how your environment impacts your health and your wellness. Think about how your emotions are changing throughout the day and how that's having an effect on the things you're doing in life. Think about your mentality. How's your mental health working towards and affecting everything. Think about your existential health. What is your purpose in life? How are you working towards that, and how is that affecting everything? Think about your relations, the people around you. How are they influencing all of those things that's going around you? All of those things play a significant role towards your overall health and wellness. So think bigger. And third one, for trainers, keep it centered around the client. A lot of trainers tend to look at a client and evaluate a client and say, oh, I see something I want to fix. I see I see your issues. I'm going to fix this for you. The client is the expert. Let me say this again. The client is the expert. Focus on what they want to do. Let them lead the ship. You're just the guide. As long as you stay a guide, as long as you remain in the passenger seat and let them hold the wheel, they will be much less resistant toward change, and you'll make much bigger progress than they'll love you for it.
David, I'm going to let you go.
You want me to give 3 things?
You asked for it. You got to do it too, man.
It's very, very simple. First of all, I'll go back to what we started with, Bo. We're going to try 5. Go out and try 5 trainers. Go out and find 5 people. Not the guy that's cutest, not the guy who's in best shape. Go out and find people and find out what works for you. I'll go off of that, number 1. Number 2, don't do the Instagram thing, because a lot of people are out there lying about what they are actually doing. And number 3, be realistic with yourself and really work in conjunction with your trainer. Don't just sit there and say, I'm going to do this and then do something on the backside. Be realistic. Start with small goals. You make little wins, and then eventually you'll become one big win, and you'll get what you want. Bo, you're up.
I got nothing. You got no. I'm gonna put my cell phone solo. Number 1 big thing for me we talk about is getting an assessment. I talk in my practice, in my social media, about vital signs. So we want to see, what are your movement vital signs? Just like you go to your medical doctor, you get your cholesterol, you get your blood pressure, all these kind of things. You go to your car mechanic. Corona and I talk about these analogies all the time. You're getting your 21-point checkup. Why do you not have a 21-point checkup of your hips, of your knees, of your ankles? Why do we not have that? That's my biggest thing, is get an assessment. And even if you as an individual don't know what that should look like, again, the personal trainer, to everyone kind of brought up the concept. If your personal trainer can't speak to these concepts, if they're not even asking you about your injuries, then we have a problem, folks. So make sure, that's my number 1 biggest thing. And I think as an industry, I'm going to give the number 2 is to the industry, to everyone here, to everyone, all the trainers out there, to the ACSM, to the NASM, to the FMS, to the alphabet soup of it. Oh, I just scared my dog. So my challenge is, can we come together in these kind of formats and in other episodes? And I'm challenging everyone here to come back and say, what are these assessments? We talked about it a little bit, but it's, can we come up with actual things? Again, the Dan John, I would maybe put a link somewhere in the show notes down below. If you guys are watching this on the YouTube later, can you go? He's talking about these basic assessments. Very simple one I'm going to throw out there. 90 seconds at half of your body weight for a suitcase carry. Put the thing in your right hand. I weigh 200 pounds, let's say. I need 100 pounds in my right hand. I need to walk for 90 seconds. I take as long of a rest as I need. I put 100 pounds in my left hand. I walk for 90 seconds. If I cannot do that, I am not as fit as I should be. That is a minimum barrier to entry. And if I keep building that fitness, now we're talking. So the third piece, I guess I'll connect it all, is we talk, the personal training space. We talk about online training, personal training. If you're not understanding what that means from a fitness perspective, I think that's where the disconnect happens. Or again, if you're chasing just looking good, if you're chasing just getting out of pain, that's even something that we need to come together, put all these pieces together. And I'm done with my ramble. I'm going to sign off. Corona got the conclusion.
You want me to close that, right?
Close it. Come on, Mariano. Bring in the lefty.
You know I close well. Huge thanks to the three of you for sharing your incredible experience and insights. We are going to put in the show notes all their social media, all that stuff, so you should check them out. These are three of the best in the industry. Remember, your engagement is what keeps us going. Leave us a review, share this episode, subscribe, and most importantly, take action. Demand better for your health, fitness, and future. We are sponsored by FitCare Physiotherapy and Wellness, where the emphasis is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. We'll be back soon with more insights and guests, and you guys will be coming back, I promise you. Until then, keep demanding better. Peace.
See you later, guys.